Hello and a very warm welcome to Manufacturer of the Week. Now, I wonder if you know what this is. Yes, of course, it's a hairbrush, but it's a very special kind of hairbrush. It's called the Denman hairbrush. And we're going to be finding out what its relationship is to the company that is the subject of our program this week, Denroy Plastics. And the person who can describe that relationship to us best is the CEO, Kevin McNamee. Kevin, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
Now, perhaps you can explain that relationship between Denroy and the iconic Denman hairbrush.
Well, that is an interesting story. Now, the Denroy business has been trading for almost 50 years, and it was bought over by a company called Ulster Plastics back in the early 1970s, the Rainey family who owned Ulster Plastics. And amongst all the assets that they purchased back in 1972 came some dusty Denman tools that were little used and the brand was somewhat neglected. The gentleman who owned the business at the time, Max Rainey, was a fairly wily guy, and what happened there was that the phone started to ring and people asking, would you sell those tools and that brand? They're not of any value. And Max thought, well, if people are calling up wondering, is there some value in this? Perhaps there is. And just at that time, Vidal Sassoon was perfecting the technique of blow drying using a handheld hairdryer, blow drying ladies' hair, because up to that time it was all done in salons. And the only brush that would withstand the heat of the handheld hairdryer was the Denman D3 with the nylon pins. And suddenly, as Vidal Sassoon went around the world telling everybody how to achieve the perfect blow-dried style with a handheld hairdryer using the only brush that was suitable, the Denman D3, guess what? The sales went through the roof. So right through the 1970s, Denroy, as it was, and Denman were just extremely lucky that the product of this wonderful brand endorsement from no less than Vidal Sassoon. So from there, the brand expanded from the original Denman D3, the classic black handle, red padded nylon pin brush, into what it is today, which is a huge range of brushes, really servicing all hairdressing requirements and combs and accessories and so on as well. So the Denman brand's now going for 85 years. Denroy have been manufacturing it for 50 of those, and by some coincidence, the gentleman who actually invented the Denman brush, Jack Dean, was from Northern Ireland, and it's quite coincidental and fortunate perhaps that it's now back being manufactured here in Northern Ireland and exported to 60 countries around the world.
Well, Denroy is now a separate company from Denman, but I mean your sister companies, if you like. It's been an extraordinary story from those days of hairbrushes to today, where you're supplying products into aerospace, defense, automotive. I'm sure there have been bumps along the road, but it's been a tremendously successful journey. What's been the guiding force behind this destiny?
I think it's flexibility and a willingness to take on challenges. I think, Nick, is the primary things. Now, at the heart of this business, but particularly the Denroy business, is engineering. At the end of the day, we are a plastic processing business, certainly on the Denroy side. So we can process really anything within reason that can be manufactured in plastic. And I get asked this question all the time, going, how come you make hairbrushes and aerospace parts? What's going on there? Well, the bottom line, or the commonality between the two, is, of course, plastic injection moulding. And you'll find, if you're ever here, we'll be delighted to give you a factory tour, and you'll see that alongside hairbrushes being manufactured in one injection moulding machine, right in the next machine you may have components being manufactured for Airbus and Bombardier. Now, saying that, over the years what we've developed is a specialism in processing some of these engineering polymers, as we call them. Some of the aerospace materials, as you can imagine, are a long way away from what you would make a hairbrush out of. They're processed at very high temperatures with very strict controls and so on. And we've developed just over the years, through good engineering, frankly, and expertise in processing these materials to exact tolerances. As you can imagine, the tolerances required for an Airbus component, for example, are absolutely minute compared to a hairbrush, which is obviously less tolerant. But we've developed this expertise over the years, and it really just comes back to, I suppose, a bit of vision, good discipline, and good engineering, and probably should say, over and above that, extremely talented people and dedicated people.
Denroy's response to the pandemic, with a new commercially available mask respirator you designed called the Bubble, and the Hero Shield, which it's a visor that can be used in hair salons. How easy was it to pivot the business, to add these product lines and get them out there in, frankly, a pretty short space of time?
Well, that's right, Nick. It was a real challenge. Look, back in March, we had the same problems facing us as everybody did during the early days of the pandemic, of a collapsing order book across sectors, particularly aerospace, as you can imagine. It's well documented there. And also was very important as well was a nervousness and unwillingness for some of the staff to come to work just when the pandemic was at its worst, if you like. So as a reaction to that, when we had particularly surplus capacity on the machines, we thought, right, what are we going to do here? We are lucky, as I said earlier, we are an engineering business. We have a strong team of engineers who can turn their hand, frankly, to design and put into production any product within reason that we can manufacture in our equipment. So we looked at that technology and said, right, what can we do? And we were aware that first and foremost, there's an immediate need for visors for the NHS, the face shields, and I have one just here, which is indeed the Hero Shield that you referred to, and it's actually a very simple product. It's a very efficient injection moulded headband with the clear screen. So we were able to tool up relatively quickly because we can manufacture our own injection moulding tools, lay down those tools, put them in the machines and respond very quickly because we have that ability in-house to design product, to design the tools and to actually manufacture those tools that then set into the injection moulding machines to make the parts. So that is a very simple product, but one that there was a demand for. The Health Service in Northern Ireland, HSENI, approached us and requested 1 million of those, and we did that. We fulfilled those over the April to July period and have provided them with sufficient stocks, obviously, to protect their frontline workers. But aside from that, then we thought, well, what's the wider opportunity here? We were aware as well that there was a severe shortage of respiratory masks and so on that you referred to there. So we had a number of our engineering team who had gone out in furlough, and in discussion with our board members we thought, right, well, that's a waste of talent, frankly, and we need to pull those people back off furlough and invest in some technology. So we give them a brief. We give our head of design and his team around him the brief that we wanted to manufacture a mask using our core technology of injection moulding rather than go off and try and manufacture a cloth mask. We have no sewing capability or anything like that. So this is what they come up with. They went off and said, right, this is the bubble mask, which is just about to go on sale, is actually being put into production this very week, hopefully tomorrow. And it's a product that, bar the elastic, which we buy in, all the rest of it has been designed and is now manufactured entirely in-house here in the UK. And it's constructed of materials that are familiar to us through aerospace and other sectors, polypropylenes and TPEs and so on. So this is very familiar technology to us, and it was just a matter really of finding a design which took a number of iterations, as you can imagine, but coming up with a design that first of all was obviously aesthetic and functional and high performing for the user, but also as well would fit in with our core technology of what we could manufacture. And where this product is primarily aimed is the public. We think this mask is absolutely ideal. For example, London Underground commuters who are perhaps nervous about going on a busy tube train and so on again, because what you can simply do, as you probably know, is pop that open and change the little filter that's in there every day to give you that protection whenever you're in a congested area or so on.
Well, anybody watching this should note that just below the screen here, you'll see the link to where you can buy the bubble and the Hero Shield visor. You place a great deal of emphasis on the power of community and the importance of connecting with education. Now, are you frustrated by the difficulty manufacturing has in attracting the talent that it so desperately and self-evidently needs?
I think it's been a constant problem, Nick. I think it probably goes right back to the schools, and maybe just the perception in general that I think people often think engineering is spanners and oil cans and oily rags and all that sort of stuff. And it's a particular issue, I think, attracting females into the industry where, traditionally, it's been more of a male, what we call orientated sector, I suppose. And I think what we really need to do is start at the schools and communicate that engineering is not all about hitting things with hammers and using oil cans. It's much more than that. For example, most of the work in this product is CAD design, and CAD, as you know, is very exciting. It's a developing technology all the time, and it's something that there's absolutely no reason why anybody can't do it from any diversity. So We profile the business as best we can to attract people to Denroy and to Denman. We do a lot of work with the colleges and local schools. We also do quite a bit of local media, which is not really the purpose of us profiling the business in local media is not so much to sell product. You know, the market here in Northern Ireland is relatively small. It's actually to create a brand awareness amongst the public, particularly with graduates and so on, that they recognise the company. So whenever we do put an advertisement out for whether it's a marketing, assistant or graduate, or whether we want, an engineer, that there's an awareness of the brand and people go, oh yeah, Denroy, they're the AEROSPACE guys, or Denman, that's that international hairbrush company.
A final thought, Kevin. You're a very prominent Northern Ireland manufacturer, and we're approaching 4 months away, the end of the Brexit transition period, with particular issues facing Northern Ireland. How nervous are you, and do you sense some serious difficulties for yourselves on the horizon?
Potentially, Nick, absolutely. Look, it's a very complex situation here in Northern Ireland in particular, as you might know. There's a document just about to be released called the Northern Ireland Protocol that's going to define the trading relationship between Northern Ireland and, let's call it, GB, because Northern Ireland is remaining, from a manufacturing point of view, aligned with EU customs and duties, customs duties and VAT for that matter. So that becomes very complex, because when you think about it, if GB, let's call it, leaves the EU, which it will on the 1st of 1st, it's effectively, we're sitting here still in Europe within Northern Ireland and trading with a non-EU nation. So as I described it to somebody, it's a bit like selling to America, is the way it's going to be set up. So the UK government are obviously making plans to accommodate this, because goods and materials coming into and out of Northern Ireland, to and from GB, are effectively exported, and that has to be addressed. And there's a lot of talk you'll hear around this unfettered access, which is what it says. It's to allow goods to move freely in and out of GB, and that's very important to us, because whilst we do export to 60 countries, and about, in total about 50% of our revenues are exported to non-UK locations, particularly North America, we do still trade heavily into and out of GB, particularly our supply chain. And then of course the wider picture, just generally as applies to everybody in the UK, is what if we end up in WTO rules? What happens, if goods become more expensive on the way in and the way out as a result of tariffs and so on? So all those challenges that face everybody in the UK still apply, but we do have unique challenges in Northern Ireland. However, I'm an optimist, and I also see perhaps opportunity in that, and there could perhaps be circumstances in which it could be advantageous actually to be based in Northern Ireland. So they've yet to emerge, but it's something you can imagine we're watching very closely here, and if challenges arise, we'll have to deal with those, and if opportunities arise, well, we'll hopefully benefit from those.
Well, if your past is anything to go by at Denroy and Denman, whatever bumps there may lie in the road ahead, I'm sure you'll navigate them very successfully. Kevin McNamee, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the programme. We wish you all the very best of luck, and thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Kevin McNamee, CEO of Denroy Plastics. A great company, great story. Hope you've enjoyed it. This has been Manufacturer of the Week. I'm Nick Peters. See you next time.